Hi, welcome to the Munro Live podcast. My name is Rob Shellhoob. I'm Vice President of Sales with Munro Associates. I'm joined today by Ellie from Ellie in Space. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you making time for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just we want to make this just real casual conversation. Just some real general questions. I think my first question for you is: you started off as a news anchor. You spent 8 years in the TV industry, and you made the switch to a YouTube star.
Yes.
Walk me through that process. What led you to going to YouTube?
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know that when you work in TV news, just because you're on TV, you don't make a lot of money. In fact, it's really not great pay at all. Plus, you're working holidays, you're working crazy hours. So I was kind of getting a little bit dissatisfied with the news industry in general. But I also wanted a way to make a little extra coin on the side. And so my ex-boyfriend at the time was like, hey, you're really good on camera. Maybe you should start a YouTube channel. And I was kind of hesitant at first. I'm like, well, I don't really know what I would talk about, but maybe it's a good idea. So I started making some videos about Airbnbs and, different food reviews and just trying different things to see maybe what would generate an audience. And of course, I was doing this in my spare time after I would get home from my news job. And I one day made a video about Starlink, which was in the better than nothing beta phase. There was a lot of interest around Starlink, but not a lot of people had access to it. And again, kind of owe it to my ex-boyfriend, basically. He got a Starlink unit and said we should make a review. And that kind of got, 10,000 views overnight. And so that was definitely eye-opening. And I was like, hey, there's a lot of interest in this Starlink. So I was like, well, maybe I should make videos about Starlink. As a news reporter, sometimes you're assigned a beat or a specific area of coverage, whether it's health-related news, crime-related news, technology, etc. And so I started making Starlink videos in my spare time. And I had 1,000 subscribers and I had 4,000 and my views were going up. And I was like, this is pretty crazy. And then when I was still working in news, I took my first trip down to Starbase in September of 2021. And that just I feel like that changed everything because there was some interest in Starlink. There's a lot of interest in Starship.
Yeah.
And so I started covering that more and, doors started opening. I got more viewers. And so, that was September of 21. By May of 2022, I, signed basically a settlement agreement. I had to pay $5,000 to break my contract in news to pursue this YouTube full-time with, not very steady income, but I believed so much in this channel growing and this topic of Starship, it's only going to become more relevant. So anyway, it was kind of a leap of faith. It was kind of a combination of, I've had some very generous, loyal supporters who wanted me to go full time. They sort of helped give me that boost.
Yeah.
And I ended up just saying, what is the worst that's going to happen? The worst that's going to happen is that I don't make any money and I have to go back to news, which is part of the other reason why I paid the settlement. I think I probably could have not, but I like to go buy the book, but I didn't want to burn my bridge. I fully expected that after a year, for sure, I'd have to go back and start applying for an anchor job.
And how many years has it been?
It's been over a year and a half, full time. Haven't had to get any loans from anyone, ask for anything like that. I mean, obviously you make money through Patreon supporters, but
Right.
that's every creator kind of has that revenue stream. So it's been crazy, actually. I'm still sort of in disbelief that I was able to really leave news behind. And it's a different challenge for sure, because now I'm my own boss. And, I not only want views to grow my channel, but that's how you get money.
That's amazing.
And so, yeah, it's just, it's been really interesting. But as much as I kind of talk about the cons of being in the news business, I don't think I would have been able to integrate so quickly and adapt to YouTube if I didn't have those skills of being able to edit by myself, being able to shoot content, being able to, like make videos on a deadline. I'm, one of the
Yeah.
fastest editors that I know. So yeah.
Yeah. So Ellie in Space wasn't based around you as a young girl, you wanting to be a astronaut or go to
Nope.
Mars. No,
Nope.
just
I
fell
know.
into it.
A lot of people ask that, and I'm like, should I make, a fake story? And I'm an honest person, so that is actually not. But I will say, as I've covered it more and more, I have fallen in love with the mission. I have, I think what I align with most and what I'm most excited about is Starship and this idea of the world's first fully reusable rocket going to Mars. So, I have a lot of people on my channel that are really into like the history of space and, they're still looking back on the Apollo era. But I think what's happening right now in front of us is truly exciting. And I'm talking more about SpaceX in general. What NASA is doing to me isn't as groundbreaking. SpaceX has really changed the industry for good, and it's such a great thing that they came along because now they've kind of started this rise of commercial space companies and many startups trying to get into the game. And SpaceX was once a startup, and look at what they've become today. So
Yeah.
anyway, it's wasn't a passion when I was a kid, but it is now.
Yeah, it's amazing. So you talked a little bit about your team, and basically your team is you. So are you the only person on your team? Or do you have a lot of people managing your production? Walk me through that process.
So as of 3 weeks ago, I have hired someone as sort of a very part-time consultant. So he kind of makes some thumbnails for me, helps me edit, but really I feel like I'm faster at editing. So basically I've, kind of used him as content strategy and help with thumbnails, but that's been 3 weeks ago. So pretty much up until this point, it's been 100% me, which can lead to a little bit of burnout.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, it's an evolution, and I'm sure you guys have experienced that on your end too. It's like you just your channel, as your channel grows, more doors open, and all of a sudden you can start to afford reinvesting in equipment or, extra help, delegation, etc. So it's interesting because in news, they supplied me the camera, they supplied me the tripod, the laptop, the editing software, etc. All I had to do was shoot the story, edit it, and set up my live shot by 5 p.m. and make my deadline. But now I have to do everything. But yeah.
Yeah. So apart from SpaceX and space in general, what other genres are you looking to explore into with your channel?
Well, it's interesting you ask because the top 3 videos on my channel actually have nothing to do with space, which makes me wonder, am I in the right niche? My 3 top videos are 2 of them are about like alternative housing. So one of them is about Boxable, this, foldable house that unfolds when you unpack it.
Yeah,
The
very
other
familiar with them. Yeah.
Yes, the other one is a modular housing development here in Austin, and then a Tesla solar roof that has almost 400,000 views, and that was just kind of an oddball story that piqued my interest. And I was like, you know what? I've never seen a roof in person, a Tesla solar roof. I'm going to make a video about it. So it's interesting. I think that I've obviously covered some Tesla content. That's how I met Sandy,
Yeah.
and so I do try to cover sort of more like emerging technologies and maybe like like what our future might look like is I think what a lot of my videos fall into.
Very interesting. So you recently spent some time on the Cybertruck. Tell
Yes.
me your first impressions about the Cybertruck. Let's kind of turn the conversation towards what we do for a living, which is automotive review.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell me about your experience with the Cybertruck.
Well, it was funny because chasing down the Cybertruck, has had many stages. So I've seen the Cybertruck at several Tesla events, I mean, quite a while ago. So I'd already seen it in person. And then it was like, well, I want to see it up close and like open the door, see what the interior looks like. And then, I wanted to get a ride in a Cybertruck. And actually, I finally got to drive one about a week and a half ago. Um, Someone was generous enough to basically give me their Cybertruck for 2 hours, which was incredibly nice. And it was really, really cool to have that experience, especially since, at least in my lifetime, and I think for many of us, this is like the most hyped up vehicle we've
Yes.
ever seen. And so to be that person driving it and seeing people like look at you and take pictures and like just, it's a magnet. And, eventually that's going to phase out. But I don't think it's going to phase out for a while. I was actually talking to my sister last night because I saw one in Austin yesterday just on the road. And she's like, I've never seen one in person. She lives in Missouri. And I'm like, you will,
Yeah,
eventually.
they'll get out there.
Yeah, but it's really cool. A lot of people are like, "Do you have, one on order?" And I'm like, "No." By the time I get it, everyone's going to have one. So it was really awesome to be able to ride in one. But yeah, the turning radius on it is like
The
insane
steer by
for
wire is really, really interesting, right?
it is, it
Yeah.
is. And, just, I mean, even like the aesthetics, like when you roll down the window and it's, like this triangle shape, it's just interesting. It's different. And, it's obviously a conversation starter because half the people still think it's hideous and that's okay, like,
Right.
so it was really cool. I definitely did not want to give it up. I was like, how can I, steal this? No. But it was I definitely want to drive it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have any problems with the A pillar? It seems like the way the A pillars come down, it's in your line of sight looking out of the left part of the window.
I didn't have that problem. However, when I talked to Sandy, because he's the one who I actually got to sit in the truck for the first time when he brought it to the Luster Pearl during the Cybertruck delivery event, he said that when you go in a parking garage, that's when it's really hard with visibility. I didn't do that test, so maybe I need to do that test. But otherwise, it was great. It started raining a little bit, so I used the windshield wiper, and that thing's huge. And the tonneau cover, I crawled on top of it.
Yeah.
Definitely strong, like obligatory. You just got to sit on it. And so the guy who owned it, he hadn't done it yet, but I was like, can I? Can I do it? So, yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I've actually, as recently as yesterday, I saw, oh, some trucks are rusting because the stainless steel.
Yeah.
So, I don't own one. So I guess I'd have to ask and see. I know that fingerprints are kind of an issue. You have to
Right.
constantly clean it because that is true. I put my fingerprint and then I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna, incriminate myself at the scene of the crime. But no, it's definitely gets a little dirty easily. But yeah, other than that, and it's interesting too because it has Sentry mode, but still doesn't have FSD. And so I guess that's just something that is going to take more time because it's like this completely different body that they're
Right.
going to have to design around. And so that kind of surprised me, but yeah, other than that, I mean, would I want one? Sure. Is that
Do you
like,
drive a
well,
Tesla?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a Model 3, and actually it's interesting because Tesla reached out to me after I made the Cybertruck video, the local showroom here, and they're like, "Hey, we just got in a Model 3 refresh. Do you want to take one home overnight, review it, and help us host the demo drive event, which actually I'm going to host next week?" And I was like, "Really? I thought you guys didn't work with YouTubers." So, I mean, they're not paying me or anything, but
Right.
it's kind of like probably not bad to network. And so anyway, I took a refresh home and it was interesting to compare it to my Model 3. I bought my Model 3 in May of 2023. So, it's pretty dang new.
Right.
And I didn't know much about the refresh before taking it home, which I think was probably good. It kind of let me explore the car organically.
Sure.
And one thing that the Cybertruck also doesn't have is the driving stalks. And I like those. Like I'm,
Right. Creature of habit, right?
yeah, I was kind of glad to get back into my car and have that again. There were other things about the refresh that I liked more, mainly the LED lights, but that's like a silly aesthetic thing. But and it was definitely a little smoother. The Model 3 refresh. And it's fairly new here in the United States. They debuted it in fall last year in Europe, and I think they just got them in January here in the United States. So they're pretty new, but I'm not like feeling, oh man, I wish I hadn't have bought mine in 2023. I'm like, no, I'm kind of glad I did because I'm not ready to go stockless yet.
Did the stock in the Cybertruck, did you like the way that they handle the steering wheel? And is it the same in the new Model 3?
Well, the Cybertruck doesn't have a stock either, right?
Well,
It's all
the steering wheel, right?
the yoke.
Yeah.
The yoke.
Yeah, the yoke. Yeah, I said stock, but I meant
The
yoke.
yoke
Yeah.
was fine. The yoke was fine. I had experimented with a yoke on the Model X. And so, like, you know, maybe if you're turning, you can kind of like grab air, but that was totally fine. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really know the practicality behind it other than it looks cool. But yeah, like if you're, you know, if you need to, and obviously the blinkers are fine too. They're right there on the steering wheel with little buttons. But I think the hard thing is if you're trying to, you know, reverse, let's say you need to make a 3-point turn and you're trying to like reverse, forward, reverse, like really quickly.
Right. You swipe the screen now on the Cybertruck, right?
And same on the refresh. So it's just not muscle memory yet.
Yeah. I could see where that could be confusing on the swiping up and down. And you swipe up to go forward and down to go backwards, right?
Right.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, but you're also kind of more distracted because you have to like look at the screen. And so if you're, like I said, trying to do like a 3-point turn or something, you're kind of like, you're not, you know, it's faster if you don't have to do that. But who knows? Maybe that's just something of you get used to it, just like, you know, the stick.
Yeah. So let me ask you, so being in a very male dominated industry, space, engineering, how do you handle that as a female? Is that daunting for you? Do you find it as a challenge to get in front of people and, you know, be taken seriously?
No, actually, I think it's an advantage.
Okay.
Because if you're going to look up Starlink, for example, on YouTube, how many thumbnails are going to have some blonde girl in it? You know, it's something that kind of makes my channel definitely different. And I think piques people's interest because it's mostly dudes.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think, you know, I think if there was anything, I wish that I had a little bit more of a background in either rocket science or engineering, but I know just enough to like get by and ask people questions and keep up with a conversation. And
the journalism comes into play. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of my angle too. I'm not trying to become an engineer on the side so that I can have a really technical channel. No, like, why would I do that? My expertise is interviewing experts, interviewing people, and letting them tell the story. I'm good at asking questions. So my goal is to like bring unique, informative people on the channel that have the knowledge, and for me just to pull it out of them. And so that, I think, you know, obviously I mostly have male guests on my channel, and it's because of what you said. There's not, I guess there are some females, but there's definitely more males. Yeah, do I feel like intimidated by it? Surprisingly, not really. Like I think if anything, you know, the demographic for my channel is 95% male, but it's also 95% male for another giant space creator that I know who has 500,000 subscribers and he's a dude. I think it's just the topic, you know? So, you know, you just have to know who your audience is. You can't, who your audience is like, that's how it is. You can't force, oh, well, I only want to talk to, you know, 40-year-old women. I can't force that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think you use the analytics, you use the data, and, you know, I don't dive into this too much, but what do you think marketers do, right? They're not necessarily, like, they have to figure out what their demo is first. And that just happens based on the content. You know, I don't think a lot of girls care about Starship. Some do,
right,
but not a lot do. And like, is that my job to like change that? You know, like, sure, if I can get more people inspired, that's great. But like, yeah, it's an interesting question.
Yeah. It's just curious. How do you overcome the obstacles? Are there obstacles you got to overcome from, you know, a female point of view into a male dominated industry? Or like you said, it's actually easier for you, right?
Listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that some of my viewers don't have a parasocial crush on me. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
You a lot of people, oh, your eyes are so pretty, I could stare at, and I'm not trying to sit here and say I'm like the best looking person in the world, but there's this thing
It's something wrong out there for sure.
yeah, there's this thing that happens of parasocial relationships. And it's why when I go to like Starbase during a launch, everyone's coming up to me. Oh my gosh, Ellie, I'm from Canada. I watch you. Ellie, oh my gosh, I watch your videos all the time. I don't know them. They know me.
Yeah.
They feel like they really know me because maybe they've watched me for months, maybe even years. And so, if, like I said, if anything, they either like my channel and they just like the content that I'm making, or maybe they stay because they have a little crush on me. And it's kind of like, why?
Either way, you're getting paid, right?
Exactly. And it's like, I mean, I feel weird saying that out loud, but like, let's be real,
Yeah. Have you adopted to the going to SpaceX or to an event and everyone recognizing you? Is that strange for you? How do you handle that?
Well, it's interesting because I had it a little bit when I was the main news anchor in Tri-Cities, Washington. Some people like, oh, you're the news lady. But now I don't have it all that often unless I'm at a Tesla event or I'm at Starbase. And then it's like, whoa, this is what it would be like to be an actress or a real celebrity. And it is kind of exhausting. And I feel silly saying that because, I'm honored that like that even happens. It is a cool experience, but it's nice to be able to like leave that event and then not really like have that all the time because, when you're interacting with your fans, you want to be nice, you want to be pleasant, you want to be excited because you're grateful that they watch your channel. But after doing that, with like 50, 30 to 50 people, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah. You just want to go home, put your feet up, right?
Yes. Can I put on sunglasses and, a hoodie? And so it's like weird, but it's definitely not all the time. But, one of the turning points too, and I realized, I think I should quit my job was about 2 months before I went to the the cyber rodeo. So the opening of Giga Texas.
Yep.
And there was like a meetup between YouTubers and fans in a park. And I signed 2 people's Teslas with Sharpie. At that time, I had like 35,000 subscribers. Now I have almost 85,000. And I was like, I haven't even made that much Tesla content. And somehow I'm here at a Tesla event. People like want like permanent autographs. Like, you know what? Like maybe I do have like a reason to pursue this. Like does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, maybe I am like going to grow the channel. If I've already grown it this much to at least get recognized when I didn't think I was that big and still don't, it's one of the problems with like being a YouTube creator is it feels like it's never ending,
Sure.
this target that you're trying to chase. Like when I hit 50,000 subscribers, I feel like it just
started taking off. Do you have a target in mind? How big do you want to get?
Well, obviously as big as I can, but
Right.
I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm 15,000 away from 100,000. I'll get that cool plaque.
Yeah.
And then I'll feel so satisfied. But unfortunately, I know that's not true because when I hit 50,000, I was already like, well, now I need to hit 60,000. Like I didn't even stop to savor the moment.
Right.
And so that's like an interesting problem to have because it's almost like you see other channels like Mr. Beast and you're like, well, I'm nothing on YouTube. But then you meet someone who doesn't have luck on social media or a big channel and they're like, no, you literally have, 2 or 3 churches worth of subscribers. So why aren't you satisfied? It's a weird game to play.
You're constantly chasing, right? Like you said, you get to 100, you want 200, you want 5 mil, it's always growing.
Yes.
So how do you decide what you're going to put on your channel? You've got a very eclectic mix. You've got some boxable stuff. You've got some Tesla stuff. You have some. How do you make that decision? What's that process look like?
Well, I would say that most of my content is space related because I named myself Ellie in Space because it seems like that's how I've gotten most of my subscribers. They are space fans. Mm-hmm. They really like the Starship program. And so if I were to only cover Starship, I think my channel would still grow and people would be really happy. In fact, sometimes when I go off script, people are like, oh, this was a space channel. Why are you making Tesla content? Like, you know, it's like, oh my God, dude, it's like one video. But I think that if it interests me, there's a good chance it might interest some of my viewers. And so I don't want to like pigeonhole myself into just space related content. If there's something that, you know, I think, and like I said, you know, with the Tesla solar roof, that is my third most watched video. If I hadn't have made that, then because I was like, oh, that's not space related, then we wouldn't be where we are. So I think as long as you have like 80% of your content kind of the focus or the promise of what your channel's about,
Sure.
and then some of it kind of off brand, I think you'll be fine. Some other people may say that, you know, you need to just stick to one thing, but I don't buy it, because if I had, then I wouldn't have, you know,
sure,
had any video over 500,000 views.
Any aspirations of going in other areas? Like on your website, you mentioned that you're a rock climber. Do you ever plan on doing a rock climbing video or any other genres?
Well, that's funny. Actually, I don't know if you know this, but I broke my femur rock climbing about a year ago.
Is that the video about the weight gain?
Yes.
Video? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And that too, like, oh my gosh, I sent that to my parents and they were like, don't post this, whatever you do. Like, they did not want me to post it. And I posted it. And that's my most watched, or most commented video ever. And I would say 97% of the comments are all really nice. But I was like, you know what? Like, I think it's okay to be vulnerable on the internet. I think times have changed. And I'm not just doing it because it's in right now, but I was like, oh, like so sick of like reading these, you know, rude comments. And I just wanted to address it. Like, yeah, like I know I've gained some weight. It shouldn't be the end of the world. My channel's still growing. So obviously it's not the end of the world, but you know, and so, yeah, was that space related? No, but I think, and what my boyfriend has tried to point out to me is like, people watch you for you. So they want to hear your opinion on things. They want to know about your life. They're interested in you. They could get that same like information from, you know, any of the 5 other SpaceX channels, right? So I'm kind of leaning into that more and trying to like trust that that's true.
Right.
But yes. We were actually having a conversation yesterday. If I didn't do space related content, who would I want to be on YouTube? And I told my boyfriend either the female version of Joe Rogan. So basically interviewing like people with really interesting stories, interesting lives. I did that in the beginning before I did the Starlink video. I interviewed this guy who was the first person to solo circumnavigate the globe. So he went all around, took him over 5 years, all around the earth by walking, by biking, by, you know, boating. Like,
really?
Dude is crazy. But I was like, I want people like that. You know, I just want to like pick apart crazy stories. Or what was the other one? Or I actually do. I have a bodybuilding history. I really like, you know, fitness YouTubers. And so there's this one Canadian guy, Will Tennyson. He does stuff like, I did fat camp for a week, or, you know, I interviewed the world's youngest power lifter. And then we had, you know, a competition and like stuff like that. But by far my favorite content is when I go out of here. Like I actually hate being in here. I feel like it's so uninspiring, and like, yes, it's cheaper and you probably still could make a video that gets a lot of views from home, but I'm energized when I'm doing what I did as a reporter for 8 years, being in the field, going up to you with the microphone. That's part of why I want to come to Michigan and do a tour with Sandy, which he said that would be okay, but we just haven't planned it yet. But
love to have you. Maybe you can review our Cybertruck when we get it.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, stuff like that is I feel like where I shine the best.
So what you're saying, there's no chance of doing a rock climbing video in the near future?
Well, I have sort of given up that part of my identity. I think, you know, I've climbed a few times since the accident, but I unfortunately don't feel the same about it. You
broke the femur climbing rock, right?
I broke the longest, strongest bone in the body, and I broke it bouldering. So that's where you're, you know, solo. You don't need a partner. You have padded mats, whatever. but I broke it while I was twisting my leg and I just heard it snap.
Ouch.
And so I think, I've been doing Pilates, I've been doing biking. So I'm trying to, I don't know why. I don't know why I walked away from it, but I think it was pretty traumatic. And
Yes.
so as much as it was a part of my life, actually the guy who I was climbing with the day before I broke it, and that probably put a lot of stress on the leg, which added to why I broke it because my leg was already injured, whatever. He broke his tib fib like 4 months later. And so I'm like, maybe this isn't that safe. Like, I don't really want to get hurt again. It's very scary getting hurt to that degree and, not being able to walk and having like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy. I'm like coming up on the year anniversary and, some people are sick of hearing me talk about my leg, but, inside I do reflect on it a lot. So I just, I'm just, for right now, I'm really not climbing, and that's okay.
Yeah. So no to rock climbing videos, potentially more space videos. Where do you see the channel going? Do you ever see becoming the female Joe Rogan? Is that a possibility?
So in an ideal world, I would have more help. Like I would have people in person to help me kind of make a show.
So now that you've got 85,000 viewers and you have a name, it's possible to become the female Joe Rogan, right?
You could, yes. I think, I mean, shoot, he lives here in Austin. Maybe I should just, go chase him down and
right.
That's how he does it. Another thing, actually, I will tell you this. I've done a little bit of stand-up comedy and I'm not that funny, but I think it's fascinating that Austin has become this hub for comedians, akin to what Hollywood is to actors. People leaving everything behind and going to Hollywood because they want to make it.
That's big comedy scene there, obviously. A lot of good clubs.
Huge. I've met so many people that have moved here just to do open mic after open mic. They're hitting 4 to 5 bars a night. They're running around Austin trying to get some time in, trying to get their sets in, time on stage with the dream that they will eventually be able to make money in comedy. Do you know how hard it is to make money in comedy? Extremely hard. But I feel like that would be really cool to sort of, just as a human interest thing, talk about the rise of comedy here in Austin.
That's interesting. Would have never guessed that's the hub of comedy, Austin, Texas.
I really think it is. I can't think of anywhere. There's obviously like some stand-up comedy in LA and, various places, but it is huge here. So huge that it's almost becoming too saturated because you have losers like me that say they just want to bucket list be a comedian, but like so many people are like wanting to try it. And so you have a lot of people that really suck. Like if you go to open mics here and you just want to watch as an audience member, do not expect to laugh. A lot of people are bombing.
Have you done open night or open mic? Yeah,
I have. Yes.
And was it quiet or did you get a lot of laughs?
Well, there's a reason I won't share those recordings with anyone. But I did end up, this was interesting too. So I auditioned to be on a famous comedy podcast and live comedy show called Kill Tony, which is here in Austin at Joe Rogan's Comedy Club, the Comedy Mothership. And about 200 people sign up every single Monday night, vying for a spot, hoping to get a bucket pull. Well, what they do is because it's mostly, kind of a sausage fest, not a lot of women. So they make sure to at least like force choose one woman every night. So everyone else is random, but it's mostly dudes. And then they'll try to find a name that sounds like a female. So anyway, I auditioned 3 times. 3rd time I got picked to go on stage. And so that was a crazy experience. One of the reels that I saw posted of my set has 2 million views. So that definitely brought a lot of new people to my channel that saw me on Kill Tony and they're like, oh my God, like I actually like space too. So I feel like it's, you can like network yourself all over the place and you'll get a new audience.
Sure. Any plans on going to South by Southwest coming up in March?
I'm actually very happy that I'm covering that as a media person. So I don't have to pay $1,600. And it's funny because last year I got the media pass. I've never been to South by Southwest. And then I broke my leg like,
Right.
7 days before it started. And I was like, oh my gosh, I thought for sure I'd be going to South by Southwest, interviewing people. And here I am, couch ridden on a walker. So I'm excited to hopefully, knock on wood, be able to go this year. But yeah, there's like space related content at South
Yeah.
by Southwest. So I'm like, I'm going to try to, get as much of that and whatever else I find interesting. That's why I went to CES and I also had, media credentials because there were actually some space related things at CES. So I think space is actually becoming more, mainstream. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have anything lined up that you really are looking forward to seeing at South by Southwest?
Mark Rober is going to be there, so hopefully I can track him down. If you don't know who he is, he's the one who did like trying to prank porch pirates by putting a glitter bomb in like a staged package.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Like, so he actually formerly worked at NASA, so he's kind of perfect to talk to. A lot of people have seen his content, but a lot of times I also just don't go into it with a plan. I want to like, search and see what I find. At the first CES, that's when I interviewed Sandy, and that video got, 70,000 views or so. So that was pretty nice. But I think most of these events are kind of just about networking more than anything.
It's actually really nice to see CES growing back to pre-pandemic levels.
Yeah.
It was busy this year for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think I got COVID at CES, so maybe that's not good. I definitely was like super sick after that.
Yeah.
But you have 130,000 people plus. I mean, yeah. So
yeah.
But, oh well.
What's next on the horizon? What's the next video we can look forward to on your channel?
Well, actually, next Friday, so a week from now, I will be going weightless on a 0G flight. I will feel what it's like to be an astronaut. I'm going on a modified Boeing 727, I believe. And this is, by the way, usually a $15,000 ticket. I was able to win a contest.
Wow.
People voted for me for some reason. And so that's been delayed actually for, 7 months now. So we're finally going to do the flight. Basically, the plane does several parabolas. So, it like goes up and down and it does multiple passes. And so you're only weightless for about 20 to 25 seconds. And then you actually have the reverse, which is feeling those G's as you go up and down. I'm actually terrified of turbulence. So we'll see what a disaster it is. It's called the vomit comet for a reason. But I'm going to put all those worries aside, take my Dramamine, and it should be an unforgettable experience. Some people, I actually asked an astronaut what his opinion was because he's done 0G, and he said it's the best feeling in the world aside from falling in love with someone and having them fall back in love with you. So that's a pretty high expectation.
That's a big expectation.
Yeah. So I will be doing that next Friday out of Orlando.
So it airs next Friday, or you're doing it next Friday?
I'm doing it. I'm getting in that plane.
Nice. If you hold true and you vomit on the comet, are you going to air that as well?
Oh, 100%.
Awesome. I can't wait to watch.
But I hope I don't, because I want to enjoy it, right? Like, it sounds really cool, but I usually get sick on roller coasters when I'm just like, you know what? You have to just
so
go into it.
Chances are.
Yeah. You can't like, know how you're going to feel until you're actually in it. So yes, but I am excited. Other than that, I'm also going to Japan in April. I know Sandy's been to Japan.
Yes.
I've never been. And so I'm not sure, how much like space related content I'll get there, but I'm definitely, I'm super excited for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's been, and that's one of the things that I'm so grateful for. And sometimes it's overwhelming because you almost have too many choices. It's like analysis paralysis because you're your own boss. But the fact that I can just schedule a 2-week trip to Japan and not have to ask for PTO, not have to run out of PTO.
Right.
It's so great to, as much as I hate it sometimes, it's really cool being your own boss. Your flexibility with your time is, to me, like something that I will like. never want to give that up again. Even when I have days where I'm like, oh, being a YouTuber is so hard and like I'm burned out and whatever, it's like, it's better than the alternative.
Right. Right.
So,
Punching
yeah.
the clock really sucks, right?
Yeah, yeah, it can. I mean, some people like the stability. There's the
Yeah.
flip side, which is they know how much money they're making. They know their health insurance. They know their retirement. They have all that squared away with their employer. But, you know, nothing's perfect.
No,
So
it works for you.
it does work for
Yeah.
me.
Well, Ellie, I really appreciate the time. I've learned a lot about you and your channel. I look forward to hosting you here at Munro to
Yes,
see our Cybertruck.
I would love that. I would
Yeah.
love that.
Good
Yeah,
luck on.
actually,
Go ahead.
I have a short with Sandy and it has like 60,000 views. So he's just one of the shorts. So he's definitely made a name for himself, and I really admire everything you guys are doing.
Yeah, you know, quick story on that about the like rock star treatment. We go
Yeah.
we go any place with Sandy, and we got to have bodyguards everywhere so we can get through a crowd. It's just that's kind of an exaggeration. So, but he is definitely a draw. It takes us twice as long to get through a crowd
Yeah.
than it normally should. So,
Well, the funny thing is, like, I think you need those people to rail Sandy in, because I know when I was interviewing him at CES, I think he would have talked to me for 8 hours. So you guys were like, okay, dude, like, move on.
yes, yes. I don't know if it's worse, the people asking him questions or he likes to talk to everybody.
Yes.
It's a fine line.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways, Ellie, I really appreciate your time. I look forward to hosting you here in Michigan.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's a little bit warmer when you come up.
Yeah.
It's kind of cold here today in February. So best of luck on the Vomit Comet next Friday.
Yes. And
Yeah.
if people want to follow me, Ellie in Space is my channel.
Look forward to seeing you as soon as we can.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye now.